SUNY Fredonia has more than doubled its international student population over the past year and a half. This is stirring up many changes within the college. Partnerships with universities overseas have brought more than 100 new international students to the campus since fall 2011, raising the current total to 209 students from all around the world.
Well, we have Saudi Arabia, Canada, China, Japan, South Korea, Nigeria, Turkey, Trinidad and Tobago, Sudan, Pakistan,
India.
Mm-hmm. I think that's it for right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
15 years ago, we had 2 partnerships. That was it. And now we've got, I don't even know, 25-ish? And one of the partners that we have is this Hankook University of Foreign Studies. And they are literally sending us their students. They keep them for a year, and then they send them to us for 3 years. And it's marvelous.
The Hankook University of Foreign Studies, also known as HUFS, is SUNY Fredonia's largest partnership and is located in Seoul, South Korea. They have sent more than 90 students to study on the campus since fall 2012.
And then we have our partnership with Izmir University of Economics as well. And that's a dual diploma program.
To apply for a visa to study in America, these students have to submit proof of their English language proficiency.
And then they have to cross the next level of hurdles, which is actually showing up at the U.S. consulate or embassy in their home country. And they have to prove to them that they are sort of worthy of this visa.
And sometimes they will have us provide more information, like we've had to write letters stating that the person does meet our language requirements, and that has helped students be able to get their visa to come to Fredonia.
Right.
The language requirements were put into place so that students would be able to be successful in their studies, although it became clear that many students needed help. So in response, SUNY Fredonia created an English as a second language curriculum and hired one full-time professor to help teach those classes.
Most of the time, I think students are diligent. They realize that they need English. They want to be successful in their program studies. But on the other hand, I also want to be very honest. I don't think some of them are really qualified to be matriculated to our university. One thing that I think I am here, and also some other ESL professors are here to help those students. That's our goal. Maybe universities or schools back to their home countries should realize this as well. Not only to send, say, how many students this year we send them to SUNY Fredonia, but also send us qualified students. So that's only my suggestion based on my teaching experience. I think we offer 5 different courses, and I'm teaching 3 of them. We do need more ESL professors. We also need those ESL professors have some basic training at least. Teaching international student English, you have to understand their learning, English as a second language learning process. You have to understand their culture. So far, I'm the only person out of the United States to teach ESL courses. I don't think whether the professor is an American or not an American is the key that they decided to hire an ESL professor, but rather they'll see whether this person is qualified.
Finding qualified English language professors was something SUNY Fredonia had to do after the students arrived. But before the students arrived, they had to make a lot of preparations.
Everybody got on board right away, making sure that we had appropriate housing, that we had the appropriate staff, that
Food.
we had even just addressing new food issues, offering new food items, everything that we could think of. We had people at the table helping us make these kind of decisions. So by the time they finally arrived, we were ready. We were just ready for them.
Even with a lot of planning and preparation, there were still a few oversights that SUNY Fredonia had to address. Between the fall 2011 semester and the spring 2012 semester, some international students had not found a place to stay while the dorms were closed for break, and as a result, a few professors opened up their own houses to the students as an option.
Well, as it turns out, my wife and I were going to be out of our house for about 2.5 weeks. We were taking a trip to South America. And I thought, well, I mean, why don't you just stay at our house? I think it worked out well for them that they now had a place to stay, and we had house sitters. Maybe I'm a trusting person. On the other hand, I felt like, well, what will these students do if they can't figure out where they're going to stay? But I see the students now on campus, and we say hi to each other, and yeah, so it's sort of been able to form a kind of a bit of a friendship. I mean, my guess is something would have happened to solve the problem, but we just quickly volunteered, and that took care of the problem right then, and nothing else really had to happen after that.
But that's probably been the biggest effect we've had, is the fact that breaks aren't really breaks anymore. But the 5-week break between the semesters is more of an issue, because some can afford to fly home, others can't. In 2011 was the first time we faced it, but we didn't end up having any that needed to stay the entire time. 2012, based on 2011, we decided we would see how many of them needed to stay the entire break. So we didn't do a shutdown like we've done. I think in the end I had 20 students here, and there is an additional charge now between the breaks. But Thanksgiving and spring break hasn't been an issue because we've had student teachers that we've had to house and athletes. So those 2 breaks during the semester haven't been a big deal, but the one between the semester, which is longer, that's been one we've had to address.
Letting students stay for a longer period of time has supported the need for more on-campus housing. Construction has already begun for new townhouses.
We need to start talking about being a 12-month campus in that sense. That's probably been the biggest change. The more international students that we have, that's created that need. With the townhouses that are currently going to start going up, it's going to get a little bit easier for us to do that. But there hasn't been a budget impact in terms of housing. If we had our residence halls open 12 months, I mean, it would be the room rate that would affect that. So if you were going to be staying here for 12 months, then the room rate would be higher than what it is for being just 2 semesters.
More students staying on campus during breaks means more mouths to feed.
When the first group of Huffs came last spring, so spring of 2012, the spring break was the first break period that we are shut down, that there was going to be services needed. So we didn't open a dining hall during that week because we didn't know how many were really going to be staying. And as it proved out, there was not too many that actually stayed on campus during spring of last year. So, but to accommodate that, we brought in extra sandwiches, that we could carry in through Starbucks, and the C-store was not open the prior spring break. So this spring break, we then took it to the next level. We opened the C-store as well for 6.5 hours a day in order to try to, have more availability without having to leave campus. And the sales were okay. We're okay. We broke even on that week. There was questions about during that break, well, why can't I use my points or meal plan allowances? Well, it's not our rule. It's sales tax law that dictates what we can and cannot do during break periods. Your meal plan and the points that go along with your meal plan are tax exempt when they're associated to a student when a school is in session. There's a specific provision of sales tax law that provides that. However, during spring break, school is not in session. So while there may be students here, school is not in session. And the same is applicable to Christmas and our winter break. We technically do offer a separate meal plan during J term.
FSA also responded to the growing Asian population by adding more Asian-styled foods to different dining areas on campus.
Back in fall 2011 that was, we introduced the sushi, fresh sushi, down in Center Point in the Williams Center. There was a stir fry station, but it really wasn't geared towards international students at all. It was a vegan stir fry. It was mainly geared towards vegan students. So one of the first things that I did back in spring of 2012 was to add the proteins to it, to make it more of a international stir fry rather than just a healthy stir fry. And that has proven extremely popular with those at Erie. And with the unfortunate closing of Erie next year, we will be carrying that full stir fry station over into Center Point. We've also are going to be significantly expanding what we're offering in Center Point next year. We are going to have a full Asian station where it's not going to just be the stir fry. We are going to be doing tempura battered chicken, for a sweet and sour chicken. We're also going to be doing the more Americanized Asian dishes. One other thing that we have done specifically for the large contingent of Koreans that we have on campus now is trying to expand our offerings in the C-store. So we have a whole section of the C-store dedicated to that, having more Asian bowls and international offerings.
Global exposure does not just stop at food. This is something that SUNY Fredonia has worked into the college's strategic plans.
The emphasis on a global community has been part of both the SUNY strategic plan and Fredonia's strategic plan, so it's reinforced in two different ways. So as part of our own campus priorities, we're thinking about that in a few ways, increasing the number of students as well as internationalizing the curriculum.
One way this is being done is by introducing a brand new international communication major within the communication department.
Right now it's nothing more than a proposed degree program, but I do think it would be great if we can make it a strong priority, and within the next few years that we could have something that students would be available for them. But for now, it would certainly just be a bachelor's degree that students could pursue. A lot of it will be, there's a lot of consulting opportunities. There is no possibility for a country to remain within its borders. So the tension, friction, and difficulties that go along with moving to new countries is something that I think that students with an international degree would be uniquely qualified to apply for and really take a leadership role on. I think probably the biggest thing is that we've just seen so many international students coming to this campus that we feel that it would really be just such a benefit to our American students if they had an international perspective, and it would also be great for international students to have some idea about international communication, because I think that's a field a lot of them want to work in. And I just see that it's, first of all, important professionally, because we can't just rely on the American market. The American market is no longer big enough in the global economy to sustain careers.
Another way global exposure has been added to the curriculum is through an English writing tutors class, where SUNY Fredonia students helped tutor visiting students from Japan with their English writing skills.
There's actually two parts. There's writing tutors and then ESL tutoring. The ESL is actually the 1 credit, and then writing tutors is 3 credits. We just recently had 15 students from IET Japan come here, and we are going to be working with them for the next couple weeks until they leave again. Sometimes it can be a little difficult understanding one another. When we first started communicating with them through emails, it was a lot easier. Their written English is very good. And actually gave me the expectations that when they were coming here that there wouldn't be as much as a language barrier. And then when we actually did get to meet them, and I realized, how much I had to slow myself down or reword a question or reword an answer, then I really realized, there is still a language barrier there.
When internationally expanding, SUNY Fredonia not only has to worry about language barriers, but possible political barriers that might stop a student from being able to study in America.
Some of the political situations always change, and that's true in our Korean partnership, that when they have a new Minister of Education coming in, the person may not agree with what's been done in the past with the exchange. So everything has to be renegotiated. And we had that with our Turkish program, with the dual diploma program. So we're always keeping track of what's going on in other countries and in what ways do we have to renew or revise those agreements. Well, I think in Korea it's an uncertain time as there's some escalation of threats, if not overt threats, but implied threats. So it's There has to be a lot of anxiety for people living in South Korea, and there too, when there's something going on nationally, it makes people wonder about the relationship to the rest of the world. There are some who are saying we should keep the students here, not send them abroad. Oh, the students who are here will stay. It's whether they're going to be accepting new students in the program. We're expecting new students next January, so they're already admitted to the program. And our partner organization in Korea, Chorus, is keeping us up to date on the conversations for the year after that.
Some people might not have the opportunity to study abroad. Yeah, I can't go to South Korea, but I have a friend from South Korea who can tell me about their culture.
I have lots of international friends on this campus. Well, initially I volunteered with the international department. They have sort of a welcome day, sort of a orientation. And last year I began volunteering on those days, showing the students around campus, having a meal with them. It's no secret that most of our international students are Korean students. And I wish I saw less groups of Koreans around, I guess. But when I do see students like myself interacting with the international students, it's awesome. It's great, and you never forget. You meet people around campus all the time, every day. You're not going to remember them when you graduate, but I think it's much more common that you remember your international friends when you're at college.
When we come here, we are international students, so we don't have many. We understand English, but it is a little bit harder to go first to the foreigner American friends. That is a little bit hard because even I have a Brave, that is a little bit hard. So I hope that when they come here, Fredonia makes some like a body to make a partner.
I think best thing is American people and Korean or international students open their minds and connect to each other, because I saw some movie in Asian persons like a nerd, and it came out like a nerd person, so, but all Asian person not nerd. So
if we want to have a more global perspective be part of what we're emphasizing here at Fredonia, it means not only bringing the world in and bringing the world to the campus, but having Fredonia students experience even short-term study abroad. I know for some students the idea is appealing, but they can't think of how to gather the resources. So part of that is education. In some ways, a semester abroad may not be that much more expensive than living on campus. I would love to have us, when I think of supports, if we could have some account set up, a kind of savings program for a study abroad. Like with the Fred funds, if grandparents and relatives could make a gift to that from time to time, it might be something that would get families to make this a priority.
At the top of the International Education Department's priorities is continuing growth and including more diversity to the campus.
My dream, to hit 500 international students, that's my dream. We are very concerned about diversity. And we do realize that even for the South Koreans who are, predominant on our campus right now, they want diversity. They are anxious not to be with each other. So more Turkish, definitely more Turkish. Vietnam, African countries we're looking at, and definitely Latin America.
I think we have to be honest, with ourselves and the resources that we have. Would I want to see, 200 new international students hitting the campus every year? I think that would be overwhelming. So I think we need to keep it manageable, and so far I think we have.
Western New York is a great place. It's a little cold in the winter, but it's really tiny. And if your perspective doesn't ever leave here, your opportunities are just going to be so greatly limited. When people start thinking internationally, they're going to have such a more interesting perspective on the world. And even if you don't want to go overseas, we have such an amazing group of international people here that I hope people start taking advantage of that.
A lot of my friends met international students, through me. It's very satisfying for me that I get to, just increase relations.
The international education program at SUNY Fredonia may be going through a few growing pains, but it is still receiving a lot of support from faculty and students. This is Chelsea Tedonio reporting.